My name is Sheila Libano. I come from a family of six children, one brother and five sisters. I had an adopted brother who passed away. I was born and brought up in a beautiful land of Goa, which is no more beautiful. When I was 7 years old, my father passed away. The death of my father opened the door for my pain and suffering. Since there was no financial help for my mother, it was very difficult for her to bring us up. And so, since she didn't have a job, she never worked in her life, she had no work experience, no career to take up a job. She had no choice but to send us somewhere where someone could take care of us. So, my elder sister was sent to Bombay, my brother was sent to an orphanage, another sister was sent to another family. And they all came back within a short time. I was the most unfortunate, or I don't know whether I should say I was the fortunate one who was away from home for 11 years. At the age of 7.5, I was sent to Pune to work as a babysitter. I was there for almost 6 months, and during this time, the man of the house would molest me every night. As a child, I did not know what was happening, but I definitely knew that something was not right. I was filled with fear and I could not sleep in the night because I knew he would come and touch me. After almost 6 months, I was brought back home and sent to another elderly couple to work as a domestic maid. This couple did not pay me a salary, but they agreed to educate me, and that's how I got my basic education. I had to do all the housework before I went to school. I had to prepare breakfast, prepare lunch, then come back and do the housework, dusting, cleaning. And so I had no time to play or read storybooks or to think about myself. I could hear my neighbors' children playing, and I would long to go to play with them, but I could not do because of all the responsibility that I had. My playground was the kitchen, and my toys were the pots and pan. And so all my life I became a loner. I had no one to talk to. I was all alone. And so I became a very introvert. I built a cocoon around me. I had a great desire to pursue my studies, to go to college, but this couple was not ready to pay my college fees, so I could not pursue my further studies. I worked as a teacher for a year in the same school where I studied. I also took up a part-time job. The lady of the house was very strict. Even though I was working, I could not go out for any movies or an enjoyment with other teachers. Most of my life has been a lonely life, no friends, no social life. I started hating myself and my situation. I became very bitter within me and I lost my true identity of who I was. After 11 years being away from the family, I was brought home because of one of my sister was after me to come back home. I was very excited that I was coming home because I thought I would get the lost love of my mother and my sibling, but it was not so. Nobody could connect with me. It was like falling from the frying pan into the fire. I was a loner again. I hardly existed for my mother. She was more concerned about others. I was like a stranger and a maid in my own home. There were people around me, but no one to talk to. My mother would blame me. Times and again, she would curse me, saying, I don't know why you were born. I could not take the rejection, so much so I decided to commit suicide. But I could not do it. And I kept on asking God, why was I born? Why do I have to go to this pain, to these sufferings? What wrong have I done? Why can't I take up my life? Little did I know that He had great plans for me. I tried getting a job but did not succeed. My sister, who wanted me to come home, had a lot of influence, but she never helped me to find a job. I could see from her attitude that she never wanted to see me happy. Whatever she said, my mother believed it as a Bible truth. For all the wrong they did, I was blamed for it and I was punished. After I left home because I couldn't take the rejection and I started staying in the hostel for a year. As soon as my sister got married, I came back home. Uh, and things were still the same. My mother's attitude did not change, and so I never experienced mother's love, and for that matter, even father's love, because my father would come home only for the weekends. I hardly remember spending much time with him. He was just the opposite of my mother, calm and peaceful. Every night I would hold a pillow and cry to the Mother Mary, saying, Mother, you be my mother. I always was the first one to wake up and the last one to go to sleep. It so happened that suddenly my sister had to go to Switzerland and I had to substitute her at her workplace. Her boss had not noticed that there was difference between us. While I was working there, he approached me and asked and told me, he says, "Why don't you do the secretarial course? There would be better job opportunities for you to get a job. I will pay for it. When you get a job, you can pay me back. If not, it's fine." Without my sister's knowledge, my sister knowing that he was sponsoring me, I enrolled myself to do the secretarial course at the Avas Institute. While I was doing the course, there was placement for a job at Siddharth Goa, ITC group of hotels, and my name was recommended by the principal of the institute. I got the job and I was paid rupees 4,000, but for me it was like 4,000. I was paid rupees 400, but for me it was like 4,000 rupees. I was very excited with the job because I could get some money to spend on myself. On the day my younger sister's class, one day my younger sister's classmate came to visit her, and I heard my sister telling her that there's a vacancy in her office. She was working for VS Tempo and Company, the parent company in Panjim, and so she asked her classmate to apply for it. So I overheard her, and next day when I went to work, I asked my Hindu colleague. I said, "Vijay, can you help me to get a job in Dempos?" Of course, he replied to me saying, "Your sister is working there, why are you asking me?" So I just told him I'm asking for a favor. The place I was working was quite far and I had to go early in the morning to work. So I was looking out for a better job. Just for the heck of it, he said, "Okay, give me your CV." By the grace of God, within a week, I was called for an interview. For the first time, I was walking into a five-storied building. I was very fearful and timid person because of all that has happened in my childhood. My English was very bad. I would write as it sounds to my ears. Though I had learned Pitman shorthand, I wrote my own strokes and could not transcribe it. I had never heard certain words that were dictated to me. I typed, but everything that I typed was total garbage. I also was told that the policy of the company is that two members of the same family cannot work, and so I had no ray of hope of getting the job. No, so but I don't know how this man managed to convince the board of directors, because he was not on the board of directors, nor was he a relation to any of the company. And I don't know how he managed to convince the board of directors to change the policy of the company to give me the job, who had done so badly in my interview. I had nothing to my credit to get the job. I had no work experience. I was not a graduate. Not though I was very pretty looking that they got enticed with my beauty, except the badly typed matter. I was straight away put on probation. Within 6 months, my services were confirmed. Any sensible man, having seen my interview, would have never even given me a chance to work in that office. And I used to make a lot of mistakes because, as I said, I used to write as it sounds, and they would all laugh at me when I used to type and take the matter to them. To be very honest, for almost 1 or 2 years, I hadn't improved much, and not improvement in my performance. But within 6 months, my services were confirmed, and I was given one grade higher than my sister, who was working there for over a year. And my sister was quite upset because without anything in my heart, when I went home, I showed my confirmation letter. She was very upset and angry. And of course, she went and she fought with the boss and she got her grade updated. And this man who interviewed me, who gave me the job, who changed the policy of the company to give me the job, would throw files at me, to use abusive language in front of clients. He would say such insulting words. He would say to me, "You're useless, you're good for nothing, you're stupid, you'll never become anything in this world, you don't understand anything, you're useless." And it used to hurt me. I used to get scared to go into his cabin to say these nasty words. So, but no one could throw me out of the job, my dear people, because this was a divine appointment and nobody could throw me out of the job. The door that God opened, no man can close. I worked there for 17 years till Lord called me to the mission. My eldest sister, who was working abroad in the Gulf had given me a power of attorney to sell her property. Someone in my office introduced me to a real estate guy who was ready to buy this property, and he was taking a bank loan to pay towards this property and asked me to transfer the property in his name to get the loan. In the course of this transaction, he also took my signature as a first guarantor. Being ignorant of all this thing, no one to guide me, I transferred the property in his name so that I could get the money. He hypothecated the property, took the loan, and was absconding. I had no idea till the cops came to my office to arrest me. Fortunately, they came in civil clothes, so nobody knew who they were. And unfortunately, they did not come with handcuffs because I was a lady, so they couldn't handcuff me. I went in to tell my boss that I need to go home, and I couldn't talk because I was getting so choked up. And my boss knew. He called my colleague who was very close to me. I used to tell this colleague everything, but I've never told him about this man who had taken my signature. So my boss called him and asked him what had happened. He told him in brief what had happened, and so he told him, he says, leave everything, take her and go to the bank. And believe me, my dear friends, God had provided this, my boss and this colleague of mine, as two guardian angels to be with me, because I couldn't decide anything. I couldn't think about anything. I was like a robot because I was so much in shock and so much in pain. My boss filed a case against this person to recover my sister's property and went out of his way to get as much information as possible about this man, and we discovered he was a big con man. The bank filed a case against me to recover the money. Since the jurisdiction of the bank was in Udupi, Karnataka, the case was filed in Udupi. My boss spent his own money and went to Udupi to find an advocate to fight my case. He approached many advocates, and each one of them said, it's a hopeless case, we will not take this case. One of the advocates happened to mention to my boss the name of a particular person who was an ex-employee of the bank who had retired and was practicing law. They said he might take up the case, but it's very doubtful. My boss approached him and I explained the case to him, and he also said it's a hopeless case, but I will take it up. My boss is told that he was told that once the case goes into arbitration, within 6 months they will start the procedure for recovery. This case, which was supposed to be for 6 months, went up to 7 years. My dear friends, for 7 years this man fought my case without charging me a pie. In fact, because of all the paperwork that he was involved in, I forcibly gave him 4,000 rupees for all the paperwork that was involved in. And he told me, he says, if you win your case, you pay me whatever you feel like. If you lose the case, I don't want a pie. I mean, who on earth would say such a thing? My own family wouldn't have said that. None of my relations would have said that. Who was going to fight a court case for 7 years without charging? And so, my dear friends, I can see God's hand, how God was protecting me. Moreover, he was in Udupi and I was in Goa. I don't know how many times he used to go to the court regarding my case, how many sittings he used to have there. I have no idea. He could have produced a huge bill saying that these are my fees, this is the number of sittings I had in the court regarding your case. And I had no choice but to pay him whatever amount he was quoting. But God's promise in Deuteronomy 31:8 says, I will never leave you or forsake you. It's so true here. God has stood by me as a strong tower. I own an apartment and the man who cheated me was aware of it. My boss advised me that I need to sell this apartment. I could not transfer it in my brother's name or my mother's name because I was not married, so I still become as an owner. I tried to transfer this apartment in one of my aunt's name. Aunt means just a friend of us, but very close to us, and so that they will not know that I own this apartment. When just before this procedure of transferring the apartment, I happened to go to somebody for prayers, and as this person was praying to me, I happened to mention to me saying that I'm planning to transfer this apartment to this aunt's name because so that they will not know, they cannot attach it for recovery. And this person said to me, whom are you cheating? You cannot cheat God. I was so shocked to hear this, And I made a decision there and then. I will not sell it. If it has to go, let it go. I will not transfer it. God, if it has to go, let it go. God will give me a villa or a bungalow. And I just left it at that. I just wanted to mention here, dear friends, when I was going through a lot of struggles in my family, going through rejection. And my sister, one younger sister, was married and she had two children. She was staying in a rented place. So I went in search of an apartment for her and came in touch with this builder. But my sister was not interested because most probably she didn't want a favor from me. But I spoke my heart out to this builder, my thoughts loud, and I said, I wish I could go in for an apartment. And he says, go ahead, there are many available. I told him I don't have the money. He said, if you can pay me the down payment, then we'll see what can be done. I said, even to make the down payment, I don't have the money. He said, if you can arrange the money within a week or two, then you can go in for the apartment. Well, I requested my brother and sister working in the car to lend me this money, and I would pay them back every pie. By the grace of God, they sent me the money. I made the down payment. I took a loan from my provident fund. We were allowed to only 30% of a contribution, and I hadn't worked much long, so I couldn't get much amount. God has always surprised me, dear friends. I was granted 40% of my contribution. First time in the history of the company. Nobody had got 40%. And when my sister came to know about it, like she asked me, she said, how come they have given you 40%? I said, I don't know. Ask your boss, because it was her boss who would sanction the Provident Fund loan. Depending on my age, I also took a loan from my LIC policies. Since we had some agents in the office, they forced me to buy policies. So I took loan on my LIC policies. Since my age, I was getting only one lakh, depending on the number of years I would be putting in. And the apartment was costing 3.5 lakh. There was an obstacle for me to get the money from the LIC. I had to produce a receipt saying that I had already paid 35,000 to the builder, which I hadn't paid. So when I went and I told the builder, I said, this is the problem, money is ready, but I have to produce a receipt saying that I paid 35,000. And without a second thought, the builder gave me a receipt for 35,000. I don't know how he trusted me, because I could have played with this later on saying that I have a receipt, I've already paid you 35,000. I don't know how he trusted me for that. After that, I did not make any payment to the builder. I took possession of the flat, rented it out, and only after 2 or 3 years, I settled this balance amount without interest. I had invested all my money into this apartment, and now I had to get rid of it. Like a mother hen, God has been protecting me. Till date, I own the apartment. Nobody can touch it because God is the owner of that apartment and I'm only a caretaker. My dear friends, there was a time when I was going to rejection. I had said I would pray to the Lord, saying, Lord, let somebody be kind enough to give me a 1 square foot place in their compound where I could just put 2 palm leaves and stay peacefully in that hut. But God did not want me to live in somebody else's compound. And so He made it possible for me to own this apartment. Dear friends, like any young girl, I was always dreaming about getting married and having a family. I used to build castles in the air, what I would do, how I would take care of my husband, and have fantasies about my married life. All my siblings were married except me. Nobody was interested to see me settled. Forget my mother. I did not exist for her. As a young girl, you do get attracted to opposite sex, and I didn't fall in love with 1 or 2 men, but I realized that they did not love me for who I am. They wanted to take advantage of me. There was a man who was a friend of us, in a sense he was working with my brother, was known to us, who would come over to our place with parcels. Every 6 months he would come down and bring parcels, and so he was very known to us, very close to us. So every 6 months he was visit us. So when he told me he wants to buy the bike in my name, because whenever he comes down he can use it, and he didn't know how to ride the bike, and so he wanted to buy the bike in my name. One day he came. I had an airline office below my office, and so he was coming there to confirm his ticket. And he said, "Since I'm coming to confirm the ticket, would you like to join me for lunch?" I said, "Okay." So we went for lunch, and while we were ordering, he proposed to me, and I was shocked, and I was quite taken aback because I didn't expect this from him. And so when I went back to office, I shared with a close friend of mine. I said, this guy proposed to me, and I was quite taken aback. He said, "So you're so dumb." He said, "The very fact he wanted to buy the bike in your name show that he's interested in you. So he says, why are you delaying? Go ahead." He says, "Maybe you have to now show a sign of interest." And so on his next trip, when he came down, I was going to his house to give him the bike. And so as I went to return the bike to him, I said, "Are you selling the bike? I'm interested in buying the bike along with the owner." Because indirectly I wanted to tell him that yes, I accept your proposal. I was always excited at last that somebody has come into my life who will love me, who will understand me, who will be there for me in my good times, in my bad times, with whom I can share everything. On his next trip, we got engaged. Everything was going well. Everything was very smooth and no problem. We were corresponding. I would call him times and again. After a few months, I don't know what happened. In fact, he had taken me to the Gulf. He says, "Come, let's do so wedding shopping. We'll go to Dubai." He was in Muscat. But we did not go for any shopping. We did not do any shopping. I hardly went out with him. Every day he was giving me an excuse that he's busy. And so I came down and continued with my correspondence with him, calling him, sending beautiful cards to him. And I don't know what happened. After a few months, he suddenly started avoiding me, would not call me. When I call, he would say, "I'm busy, I cannot talk to you." And so he had come down one trip to Bombay, and I called him and I said, "I'm coming to Bombay." He said, "Come at your own risk." And so I went to Bombay and I stayed at this same aunt's house. He came there. I called him and I said, I've already reached." He says, "Okay, we are coming." And I didn't understand when he said, "We are coming." So he came with his mother and two brother-in-laws. And in those days, my mother was admitted in the hospital. So there was a normal conversation. How's your mother? What is she doing? And there was no one to talk on my behalf. And so I had to open the topic. And so I asked him, I said, "What have you decided?" And he said, "There's nothing to decide. It's all over." So I was like, "What do you mean it's all over?" When I going to this problem with my court case, I remember calling him and telling him, "See, I'm in such a problem, and I don't know what is going to happen to me. You'll forget about me. I know my job is secure because my boss promised that my job will be secure. They would show the least salary so that they don't attach my salary to recover the money." And so I said, "You forget about me, you find a girl and you settle down, make your life. I don't know what's going to happen to me." And to that he told me, he says, "Your problem, my problem, I am there for you." And it was very comforting and consoling. And after that, he comes and he said, "It's all over." It was like a real shock. I didn't know what was happening. And his brother-in-laws and started saying, "Oh, it's better, it's finished now only, and then to be unhappy." And I told him straight away, I said, "Happiness depends on two people who are getting married, whether they live in luxuries or they live in poverty." And I said, "You cannot go and buy happiness in the shop." If that was the case, I said, everyone would go and buy happiness from the shop and nobody would want to get married. And I couldn't talk more. I got choked up. I just ran inside and I just fell on the bed and I became unconscious. As I came home, they were about to leave. They were getting into the lift. And so I went out and I caught his hand. I said, "Why are you doing this to me?" He just pushed me away and I fell down and I hurt myself. And after that, I was like, my whole world came tumbling down. My whole the world was crushed totally, just like when you hold the glass in your hand and you leave it, it falls into pieces and you cannot put it together. But my God picked every bit of me that was broken, shattered, and put it together, not with Fevicol, not with quick fix, but with His precious blood. And I stand whole before you, my dear friends. This aunt would not want me to go alone back to Goa, so she accompanied me even though she was not keeping well. I came home, but I didn't expect my mother to comfort me. The situation I was in did not make much impact on her. I had no shoulder to cry, but I firmly believe Jesus lent me his broad shoulder to cry my pain. My dear friends, in this state of mind and emotion, I would go to work every day. Believe me, I had no idea how I functioned in the office. I could not cry at home, nor in the office. All my bitter pain was suppressed, all my bitter tears were suppressed, and I would experience severe pain in my chest because I could not cry at home nor cry in the office, and I couldn't take it anymore. I just wanted to die. And I remember telling my colleague, I just want to die. I can't take it anymore. And this poor boy was scared that I would do something whilst going home. He would come every day after work to drop me home because he was scared that I may jump or I may do something to myself. My dear friends, Isaiah 43 1 to 3 says, Fear not, for I have redeemed you. I have called you by name. You are mine. When you pass through the waters, I will be with you. When you the waters shall not overwhelm you. When you walk to the fire, you shall not be burnt, and the flame shall not consume you. For I am the Lord your God, the Holy One of Israel. Yes, my dear friends, I have gone through waters and storms, but it is my God who has upheld me with his victorious right hand. I would have been drowned, I don't know what would have happened to me in the state I was, but I'm alive today standing before you only because my God upheld me with his victorious right hand, carried me like a baby. I got my spiritual foundation from the lady I worked for 11 years as a domestic maid. She was very pious. She would go to church every day and we would say the rosary every day. For me, God was up there like a policeman watching over us. At home, of course, it was just Sunday Mass, and we said rosary whenever it was convenient. During this time, when I was going through these difficult moments, my sister-in-law had gone to Porta. She was not well, and she had a beautiful experience there. So when she came back from Porta, she received a healing also. So when she came back from Porta, she started going for these charismatic prayer meetings, and she asked me to come for the prayer meetings. And I'm sure most of you would have had that experience. I said, I hate those charismatic. I don't want to go for any charismatic meeting. And times and again she would ask me, come for the prayer meeting, come for the prayer. I avoided her many times. But one day, I don't know why, I just felt like, okay, I'll go just to please my sister-in-law. And the priest who was giving the word that day happened to mention that there's going to be a retreat for 3 days. And he encouraged people to attend the retreat, and he says you will never regret it. I knew I would not get leave for 3 days, and so I reported sick and I attended the retreat. Well, I did. My experience was not something great. I didn't see any manifestation. I didn't feel any current passing through me. Nothing. But there was deep peace there within me. And the scripture that the preacher spoke was Isaiah 49:15, saying, Can a mother forget her baby at her breast and have no compassion on the child she has born? Though she may forget, I will not forget you. Earlier, the problem were crushing me down, dear friends. If you had to see me earlier, you would have said I was 60 years old. My cheeks had gone and my eyes had sunk in. But now, after the retreat, I was standing on the problem. Nothing had changed externally, but I had become strong within. From that moment, God took over my life. He became my best friend and my father. I remember the leader of that group, whom I had met once or twice, said to me, You are here not by chance. God has great plans for you. Of course, I did not understand what he meant by that. And so I continued going for prayer meetings from then on. There was no one to guide me, no one to tell me what I need to do, how to grow spiritually. But I believe the Holy Spirit was guiding me. I would wake up every morning at 4 o'clock and spend time in prayer before I went to work, before I went to church. And that has kept me going, my dear friends. Till date, my personal prayer time has been my nourishment, has been my manure to grow in my spiritual life. To cut the story short, some of my friends were going to Bangalore to the School of Mission. And I told them, okay, pray for me while you go there. When I went home, there's a great desire in my heart to go to this school. I had no idea what this school is about. I had no idea who Fritz is, but the desire was so great. And so I called my friends and I told them, I want to come for this school. And they said it's too late because we all could. You have to fill the form and they'll see whether you are called for it and all. He said, anyway, I'll call Fritz and ask him whether he'll take you last minute. He called Fritz and Fritz said, if God is leading her, who am I to stop her? Let her come. And I just came to the school having no idea what the school is about. It was a 3-month school. And imagine season starts the office because we're dealing in INO from September to April. And the school was in September, October, November. And I knew I would never get leave. But God was on my side, dear friends. And I approached with my boss and he gave me leave for 3 months, paid leave. So you can imagine. And I went to the school and I realized that there were foreigners in the school and I was scared because I thought they would not understand my English. So I would not mix much with them. My movements were mostly from dormitory, lecture hall and chapel. I was most of the time lecture hall trying to copy the notes because I would not catch up with the builder. And so during our closing mass, Fritz happened to tell us that bring a simple to offer to the Lord what He has done in your life for these 3 months. I prayed, but I couldn't find anything, couldn't think of anything, any symbol. So we had to go up during offertory time and explain what the symbol was. And so when it was my time to go up, I went up. I said, Lord, I have nothing to offer except myself. And then I realized what I had said. I couldn't take my words back. He had already heard it. And I said, Lord, it is difficult for me, but let not my will be done, but let your will be done. When I came back to my place, I sensed the Lord saying to me, I give up everything for your sake. Will you give up your job for my sake? Before even he could complete his sentence, I said, no way. Because job was my only identity and my security. And I sensed the Lord going on asking the same question. I wrestled with the Lord and then with great difficulty I said, Lord, okay, take it. I didn't deserve that job. You gave it to me. You want to take it? Take it. I surrender my job. When I surrendered it, I heard a tender, sweet, gentle voice saying to me, when I am there to take care of your need, why are you worried? There is nothing that I have to worry about. But remember, my dear friends, there is nothing that I lack. In fact, He has blessed me much more than I deserve. Like Psalm 34:10 says, the young lion suffers want and hunger, but those who seek the Lord lack no good things. And believe me, I lack nothing, absolutely nothing. I don't hold a job. I'm a full-timer, but I lack nothing. He always surprises me. He doesn't want me to depend on men. After I joined the mission, God has taken me to places. God has been exposing all the hidden talents He has put in me. He's done a lot of healing in my life, restored back my dignity, and helped me to discover my true identity in Him. I was able to forgive my mother and my relationship was restored. I'm involved in teaching, preaching, counseling, leading worship, and intercession. There is still more to do. I have my weaknesses. I fall times and again, but I stand on the promises of God, for His promises are true. Never in my life did I think I would be a missionary. Today, God is using me to spread His message of love, forgiveness, and providence to teaching, preaching, counseling, intercession, worship, and evangelization. There is still more to be done within me. My dear friends, I can go on and on, explaining, uh, declaring the God's promises, His goodness in my life, how God has seen me through. I don't have many sponsors sponsor me, but He's my greatest sponsor, and I have everything I need. I have nothing to worry about. It is almost 19 years as a full timer I have been in the mission. There's nothing I lack, and I have never regretted my decision to join the mission. Yes, there are struggles, there are difficulties, there are challenges. I have decided to follow Jesus. No turning back, no turning back. He is the one that I desire, and He's the one I will serve all the days of my life. And I shall proclaim and I shall praise the goodness of the Lord all the days of my life. Thank you. God bless you.